Hi guys, good evening. How are you doing today? Again, another 100-degree day today in the old Idaho world. Um, Today it's history from a guy with a stroke brain and some other fun stuff. And today it's just going to be a little bit of a kind of an off the cuff. I had some things I wanted to give you a quick overview of, and then you can decide what you want. But we really got to pay attention with history. It's very important. I'm going to switch out and put my glasses on so I can read to you. So hang on just a moment. Yeah, there we go. Let's get it all fixed up again. Anyways, just having fun. You know, that's all we can do these days is try to enjoy our lives, our everything that's going on. Enjoy your families, whatever you got, family, friends, relatives, neighbors, whatever. It doesn't matter. So I got a few things that I had written down over the years, and I was just kind of hoping we could talk about a few of them since we got a few things coming up and things that have passed already. Um, so 2021 marked 77 years since D-Day, 2021, 77. It's 5 years now, so 83 years later. And as I reflected on those old news reels and interviews, survivors telling their stories, I was just the emotion, the sadness, the loss, the gratitude. It was amazing the sacrifices made by U.S. and Allied forces. I mean, it's just you can't measure those; they're immeasurable. And it wasn't just the combatants either. The Americans, the Allied civilian populations, they had to live through all these. Through the rationing, everyday items, bread, gasoline, and many other necessities, and the loss of friends and loved ones in combat. I mean, we can't even fathom that unless you've been in the military in combat. But here in the United States, nothing like that's been felt since the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. That's the last time we had war on this continent. We've had a lot of terrorist activities and different things like that, but an actual war, that was it. I mean, so it was very selfless, and they came together for a common purpose and brought victory and freedom from fascism, authoritarian dictators like Mussolini and Hitler, and the and the Empire of Japan at the time. I mean, it's it was a lot going on, but unfortunately, most of the people from that generation are gone. There's not that many left. We are left with the heart-wrenching stories of sacrifice, survival, and death, but only in newsreels and old photos or some stories that they've told or have been captured, on camera and on film. I mean, but their stories are fading, and every time that one person dies, another catalog of history is gone. We're losing that. So they stood against the tides of fascism and unthinkable crimes against humanity. Um, these nations sacrificed their sons and daughters to defeat the evils of these demagogues. I mean, think about that. Sons and daughters, just children out there in these wars. And it's a lot of sacrifice. So the loss of this generation and their sacrifices for future generations to enjoy freedom, we shouldn't forget that. But we are. We're forgetting all that. And it's easy to forget these sacrifices because we take all these freedoms, we take it for granted. We take all of this for granted. And it's not easy. Sacrifice for the common good no longer exists. That's in my mind. I haven't seen it happen yet. In my time, we're not sacrificing for the common good. Even on 9/11, it got turned into a bunch of garbage. And I am frustrated by that. 9/11 was horrible. And we came together for a little while, and then what did we do? We separated again. We started pointing fingers at all these different people, you know, just because they had a different culture. They worship differently than we did. I mean, it's horrible. We had sacrifices from the beginnings, you know, to keep this country free so people could have the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So, I mean, let's think about these things, you know. I mean, we're losing these people all over the place, and we're losing our history of what has happened and how we got here and why we are still who we are. It's because of those sacrifices made in the past. Um, and it's history has shown us that complacency, lies, and pitting neighbors, family against family, religion against religion, and culture against culture, they just tear apart the fabric of our common decency around the world. And we're fighting these same enemies we thought we had defeated. You know, we can we can beat all this. So we just need to come together and look through the lies and the garbage that's being spewed about each other and other people and other cultures, other religions. It's I don't understand how people fall for that, but that's just me. I'm going to read some things here that I wrote. Um, and I titled it, "We Seem to Be Letting Down the Greatest Generation." And I will post these in different areas. If I figure out how it all works, I'll get it all down for you. Sometimes my brain just doesn't work right. And let me get this straight. I'm not belittling or making fun of anybody that's had a stroke. This is just my way of coping, my therapy of trying to get things done and do it right as much as I can with what I'm dealing with. That's all this is. All of it. It's therapeutic for me. I enjoy sharing it with people if they listen. If they do, they don't. It's either way. So enjoy it or don't. It's like anything else out there. You don't have to listen. You don't have to watch. You don't have to participate. The only thing I would ask you to participate in is in our democracy and your civic duty to pay attention and vote to make this place a better world for our children and grandchildren and our future generations that are going to inhabit everything that we leave them. So, we need to work on it. So this is what I wrote. Tom Brokaw called the American generation that lived through the Great Depression and fought during World War II the greatest generation for their will to survive, resolve, and willingness to sacrifice, not only for themselves, but for their nation and the world. It was a generation that was reluctant to enter the war until that fateful day in 1941, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor and President Roosevelt told the nation that the United States found itself in a state of war. 4 days later, Germany declares war on the United States, and our nation found itself engulfed in a war around the world. At the beginning of the war, the United States military was ill equipped and often used wooden replicas of guns for training. Our naval power had taken great losses at Pearl Harbor, and our Army Air Corps was seriously lacking. But that generation rose to the occasion. They came together as one, even as racism and misogyny slowed the early progress of the nation to build a military that would become one of the greatest in the world, if not the greatest. As the men left for war, women, children, and the many others who could not join in combat came together to produce the weapons of war that the United States and the world would need to defeat the world's enemies against the tyranny of fascism. But this progress was achieved only through the sacrifices of the people of the greatest generation. It was not only the soldiers fighting and dying to preserve democracy around the world and at home, but also the everyday people, women, children, and countless others who stepped up to fight that war. Their sacrifices met the challenges the world faced. That generation had rationed food, fuel, and many everyday essentials to defeat an enemy hell bent on world domination. I wish we could still hear more from that generation, but unfortunately, many are gone. I wish our generation had the resolve to pull together in times of crisis, whether it is war, sickness, or natural disaster. But unfortunately, our generation has little resolve to sacrifice for the common good of the nation or the world. Our generation could not even pull together to battle a deadly virus that killed almost 1 million people. But our generation had to move on as if the lives of those people did not even matter. What does that say about our generation? That we were so smug. We didn't care that all these people died. I just don't understand this generation. What does it say about our generation when we no longer care about the well being of our friends and neighbors and loved ones? Are we so selfish that protecting our communities is no longer a priority? It is hard to believe that it is somehow okay to watch our children die or see the devastation that illness and death bring to families, friends, and loved ones. What does it say about our generation when families, veterans, and children's lives live in the streets because they cannot afford a mortgage or rent? Some dealing with mental illness issues, others just cast aside as if they do not exist. And what does it say? What does it say about us? Does respecting life mean so little, or is there a double standard for whose life matters? It seems as though we have lost our humanity, our goodwill towards others. And for what? Some alternative version of truth and reality that tell us not to believe what we see and hear? Our generation has let the greatest generation down. Our generation has become so selfish that we cannot sacrifice just a little bit to ensure our friends and neighbors and loved ones, children, and the downtrodden are safe and secure. Our generation should be ashamed of our behavior, overcome by selfishness, overindulgence, and quite frankly, an attitude that will lead to the fall of our democracy. Because, well, we do not care enough to be engaged in the struggles of our fellow humans, our nation, and the world. It is simply appalling that with all of this history, the greatest generation stood firm and came together, and our generation will bring about the demise of a once great nation because we were too selfish to care. Only time will tell if our generation can stand up and sacrifice, as the greatest generation did. But I fear the clock has run out. I'm not overly confident that my generation is going to help fix this problem. I'm very, very disappointed. I wish we could do more. I've tried. I tried running for office at one point. I couldn't do it seriously because of my health issues at the time, but I tried. If I could do it again, I would, but health wise, it's not feasible at this point. Um, Anyways, that's the way it's been. We haven't cared. We've let them down. They've sacrificed so much for us. And look at us now. We're all spoiled. We don't give a damn about what happens to our friends and family, neighbors, people we don't even know. We just don't care anymore. I don't understand it. Um, anyway, that's my spiel on that for now. But, get back to this stroke deal that I've been dealing with. I was down for a little bit. I deal with a barometric pressure problem that really sets off my stroke brain problems anyway. So it keeps me down for a while. It makes me very cloudy in the head, but we've overcome that again. I will keep overcoming. Like I said before, this is therapy, man, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. It can be hard for me, but that's progress for me. If I can get one or two things done like this in a week, that's really good progress for me. I can have a conversation, but it wears me out. And this wears me out quite a bit trying to put together these things. But hey, I'm keeping on going, keep on trucking. I'm going to be your huckleberry buttercup. You better look out. So that's my favorite saying on those shows. I'll be your huckleberry. That was the greatest line I've ever heard. Or if not the greatest, one of the greatest. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. We'll line up some other stuff. I still got some things I want to talk about from Kennedy and how he challenged a nation. but will we rise to that challenge? Okay? All right, guys, have a good night. We'll talk to you later. Bye.